the the harmony between right knowledge, self-introspection, and how it leads to happiness, and further, and finally.
No, it is not just how it leads to. Make statements, complete statements. It is not how it leads to. Say this leads to, like that.
Okay.
Not I learned how it leads to. You say this. This is the conclusion. You give the conclusion. So what did you learn?
So like and then I'll start from a quote. And an exam life is not worth living. So just give me a minute. I'll frame it.
Okay. You need to reflect. Sunil, you want to say something?
Yes, sir, I will talk about the knowledge, happiness, and the goodness from yesterday's class.
Okay, so, make a statement. Make a statement.
So, knowledge about
your understanding.
So knowledge about oneself make us know what makes us happy and unhappy, what makes society happy, what makes society unhappy, and in this pursuit we become good.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Nikhil, that is the kind of summary I'm expecting.
Okay, I got it.
You have know yourself, understand what makes you happy and others happy.
What makes society happy.
That is good.
And the pursuit of happiness makes us virtuous.
Okay. Please, I'm not asking you to say, I learned about happiness. I learned about what Socrates said. No, not like that.
Oh.
Just say what you learned, not what you learned about. Okay? And learn this verbal oral communication. Written communication is easier if you are good at oral communication. And also in oral communication, you tend to be more careful. In written communication, you can be careless. Nikhil, what you wrote, it's very confusing. See, for example, solution to the problem of evil is education. When you start with saying the nature of good and evil is two sides of the same coin of human nature, the prevailing circumstances, the environment one grows up, and the people he associates, that is not the way. Come directly to the question, what is the evil and why ignorance is the reason, and so education is the solution. Are you following, Nikhil?
Sir, this is the first time I wrote, so I was a little bit.
That's fine. That's fine. So you can go through Deepti's answer. Deepti is writing well. Bharat, fine. I got only 3 answers.
This one, education on Padlet was not shared.
No. It is there. It is there in the group. I'll be creating a new group by Monday, but it is there in the old group.
So I checked on Wakelet, it is not there.
It is not Wakelet. It is there on Padlet.
Okay.
Padlet posted in the Telegram group.
Fine. I
Padlet
wrote on paper itself. Okay.
Yes. Solution to the problem of evil is education. I gave the question. Solution to the problem of evil is education. See, basically, this is how you should think. Solution to the problem of evil is education. You should recognize the question is the evil on evil and not on education. Okay. Bharat wrote on education. What is education? It is about remembering facts like Hitler killed. No. This essay is not on education. This is on evil. So can evil be resolved through education? Which means you have to prove that the cause of the evil is ignorance. Remember, let me tell you in the examination, it is not about the history of Socrates or Plato. It is about how you handle these questions. Some people think, why do we read thought finally when we have to write this? But how do you write these things? Okay, thought helps you to think, but in the end, this is not an optional where you are asked direct questions on thought. Thought enables you. But finally, what is important is how you apply your mind. Instead of Socrates, if you say somebody else, that's okay. Give your views, that's okay. Give examples, that's okay. But Socrates helps. Okay, so the solution to evil is education. What is evil? What did Socrates say? Ignorance. If one knows what is road to happiness, he will not do it. He will automatically be good. So what should one do? Remove ignorance. That is the purpose of education. That's all. Is it clear? So identify what is the question and then go logically. The solution to evil is education. What is evil? Why is it committed? Ignorance. So what should be done? Education. That is the way. Not starting with education, not saying that good and evil are two sides. No. It is not that they are not two sides, but that is not the way to approach this question. The way you approach should simplify your answer. Okay. So every day we will be giving assignments like this, and every day you write. Okay. It means you will be writing around 30 plus answers, and plus you have 6 comprehensive tests. Very good writing practice, but only when you write. Okay. And then this, I put the settings in such a way that you can't see others' answers, because I'll open it and then I will approve only around 5:30 p.m. in the evening. Okay. So you should write before that. If you write before, they won't be approved, they won't appear on the Padlet. So others can't see. So you can't see others' answers and others can't see your answer. Okay. So, and once you submit after 5:30, you can see others' answers also. And then after that, at any time. Okay. And submit on the same day, because I won't be going back to review your answer. So if you are not writing answer on that day, it means you are missing that assignment. And also there is no point in writing an answer after the discussion. So you should write before the discussion. Okay. So what is evil? Cause ignorance. Undo it, and undoing it is education. So the focus is on how ignorance is the reason for evil. If you can show that, it automatically leads to education as the solution. So that logical arrangement. To that logical arrangement, you can add more facts, quotations, or whatever, but there should be a logical arrangement. Is it clear? So knowledge, goodness, and happiness. Okay. So now this discussion is over. Now let us discuss Plato. Okay. Any review of Plato? Some basic ideas? Maybe somebody can start. Just few lines. Karim, you want to review? few lines on Plato?
Sure.
Please.
Actually, Plato is also another Greek philosopher.
Greek thinker.
Yes, who was again a disciple of Socrates,
Mm.
and his methodology was also again around revolving around the virtue is knowledge,
Mm.
but in a different manner.
That is one very important point. Virtue and knowledge being same. Yes. All Greek thinkers, Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, held this virtue and knowledge being the same. Okay.
Apart from that, he has interestingly put the concept of three elements, where body, appetite, and reason and spirit are the three main elements for any human character or soul. So he has categorized the society, like he has an ideological thought that the society can be reorganized based on these particular three elements, based on the domination. Actually, based on these three elements, he says that the domination of one element will lead to one type of character, something like that. So based on that dominance, he has segregated into three classes: guardian class, producer class, and there was other class. I went through military class. Yes. So he says that whoever is strong in the body, appetite element, that is the physiological part. So he said that can be made out of this producer class, and if whoever has the dominance of this spirit, so they will be under the military class, and the other one, the reason, for the guardian class. So then he has told about how the guardian class should be. So he was mentioning few examples. I remember, like there were some rulers who used to prefer that both male and female also should be of the same dominance, same character of dominance, so that the children also would be of the same dominant character. So otherwise they will be abandoned. So to avoid that situation, they used to have some restrictions for the guardian class alone, and for the other classes there is some lenience, is what he was mentioning.
Okay. Fine. Okay, let us look at implications of this, but let me review first. Okay. Anyway, it's a good review. Let me do it myself. Okay, he's Plato, who lived during this time, 427 to 347 BC, and a student of Socrates. Okay. See, the essential target of Plato is Socrates talked about individual. Okay. How individual can be knowledgeable, knowledge, and good and happy. So Socrates believed that if individual has the right kind of knowledge, he will be happy and he will be good. This is the unity Socrates believed in. Okay, virtue is knowledge. But Plato's task is, if this is true of individual, how about state? And he was living in a city state. So he belonged to Athens. Okay. So how do you apply Socratic theory to state? That is why Plato is a foundational figure in Western political thought. But why it is important for ethics also and not politics, not only politics, because they believed politics and ethics should go together. And the purpose of a state is to improve virtue. The purpose of a state is to improve a virtue. And which means to them, improve happiness. Okay. So, how do we make a state virtuous? Also means just. And at the same time, people happy. Okay. Tell me, is this question clear? And I want to ask here, do you have any solution? For example, Socrates thought this is the way to be good and happy. Okay, but what do we do about the state now?
You mean according to Plato, sir, or
No, leaving Plato, because I don't think Plato solved the problem. Individual can be knowledgeable about himself and happy and good. But what is meant by a good state? That is one. And what is meant by a happy state must mean that people are happy. And more importantly, what is knowledge? What do you do? I don't think anybody solved this problem. You know, question is more important than any answer given by any thinker. One can look at oneself, look within, and one can acquire self-knowledge. But what is meant by self-knowledge of a state? What is meant by a happy state? Just state, good state? What is the meaning?
Sir, in essence, they are talking about democracy.
Hmm?
In an indirect way, he was good state should be a democratic state.
How is that related to Socratic position? So let us think more closely what Socrates wants to say. Here, Plato does some interpretation. Okay, let me see. Let me explain what he does. Okay. He says, a just individual or a just soul is something like this. Reason dominates and passions down, particularly something like body pleasures. And here in the middle, things like courage, honor, and this reason. So Plato says, if a soul is like this, then it is likely to be, or it is just soul. It is in harmony. So what are these body pleasures? Food, sex, comforts. All of them should be guided by wisdom, whose tool is reason. Can you explain this diagram in the context of your UPSC preparation? That you have to write this examination, you have decided to write this examination, crack. Okay, which component is this? Reason, courage and honor, or body passions?
Middle one. Courage
Middle,
and honor.
yes. You want to prove, achieve things to your neighbors particularly. Okay. Great achievement. Okay. But should you prove in this way? Can you prove in this way? Can you do like that? So such a question should come where? Higher, middle, or lower?
Reason. Reason higher.
Higher. So which is more important, that you should prove, or to think whether you should prove, or you should prove in this way? Which is more important between the two?
To prove.
No.
The way. The
No,
way.
The way.
first to decide to prove or to prove, which is important between these two?
Decide to prove.
Exactly. Don't you think so?
Yes.
Decide to prove has to come first, and then to prove. Tell me, do students really apply this thinking? They may not. They may not apply this reasoning. Isn't it? So they just want to prove without applying wisdom, reasoning, whether they should prove or not, how much effort they are putting in, and how likely they can prove this way. So if they know what they want and what they will do, okay, if there is a clarity, then that is knowledgeable, and that is happy, and to Socrates that is good, to Plato that is good. For example, how much we should eat? Can we eat simply as long as it is tasty? As long as we feel like eating? No. So it should be guided by wisdom and reason. So going into more details of Socratic just soul, Plato says the soul should be led by reason. And these bodily pleasures, food, sex, and all kinds of comforts are lower passions, lower impulses. So he thinks this is the way an individual soul should be organized. It means traits in an hierarchical way, not all equal. Reason is topmost. Sex, money, bottom. Courage, honor, middle. So he thought this proportion and this reason leading or wisdom leading contributes to just soul, happy soul, good soul. Soul here means personality. Okay. Tell me, is Plato right till this point? Reasonable, or you don't think reasonable?
Reason.
Whatever you are doing should be finally led by wisdom. Reason should dominate, and not courage, not honor. Reason first. Okay. Tell me, do you agree with this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And after this, Plato makes certain sweeping assumptions. I don't really support them. I think that is a fundamental flaw. What Plato thinks is that, see, there are three features like this, three traits like this. He thinks that some people are good at reason, some people are good at courage and honor, some people have so many of body appetites. Is that reasonable? Maybe. Is it so? So he divides people. And then he thinks the reason dominant people should be made rulers. Courage and honor dominant people, warriors. And the remaining, producer class. And you should create a system where these are called ruler philosophers. These ruler philosophers rule, and warriors next stage, and producers class the last stage. So he is thinking components of the soul corresponding to classes in a society. So now it boils down to finding out right selection procedure, select and educate. Okay. Selection and education. Maybe the board is better. Okay, iPad is not needed. Okay. Selection and education. Whose education is most important across these classes?
Ruler class.
Ruler. Because they are supposed to be wise. They are philosophers. Warriors, mid-level. Anyway, one clarification I have to make, which there is an error in this book, is that guardians, these two classes are called guardians. It is not just one class. Guardians mean two classes, rulers and warriors, both are philosopher kings plus warriors. So three classes, philosopher kings, warriors, and producer class. Warriors are also called auxiliary classes. Tell me, is there some similarity with the Indian caste system?
Yes, sir.
Who are these philosophers in India? Brahmin. Warriors?
Kshatriyas.
Kshatriya. And producer class?
Vaishyas.
More than Vaishyas. Vaishya and Sudras put together.
Both.
And then, of course, there are slaves. I don't think slaves are included in this. Okay, you mean in that city state. So ruler philosophers are philosopher kings, warriors, and producer class. So you should get the right selection and give a lot of education. Education in dialectics, in reasoning, self-knowledge. And then another thing is to ensure that these two classes don't become corrupt, these two will not have two things. They will not have private property. They will not even have family. very serious deprivation, so that only those who are interested in the knowledge and wisdom will rule, so that other people won't be drawn because of wealth. Okay. And Plato believed in genetics also, in the sense that inheritance plays a very important role. So he thought that mating has to be arranged among the guardian classes, so that the best breed the best. So there is no freedom of sex, there is no freedom of marriage, and there is no family. Only common parents and common children. Children won't know their parents. So his purpose is that a city should be run by these two classes, and producers class have wealth, have families, and they're normal. Okay. So tell me, if we do like this, will it be a just state, or it will be unjust to everybody?
Yeah.
In such a state, do you want to be ruler, philosopher, and warrior, or do you want to belong to a producing class?
Obviously, the guardian.
What do you want, Bharat?
A producer class.
Producing class. That is the problem.
It is
So Socrates believed that the wisdom should rule, but Plato made it wise people should rule. Wisdom ruling is not the same thing as wise people ruling. And how can a person be wise at the time of birth, and then at the time of selection, and then all through his life? And then how can anybody guarantee wise man's son will be wise? And his son will be wise. Of course, Plato wants to monitor, and if guardian class son is doesn't have that reasoning orientation, he can be shifted to producing class. But he thinks they are exceptions rather than the norms. So the question is, how do you create a just state? How do you create a state in which wisdom leads? That is an important question. Okay. And what does trial of Socrates show? It is wisdom versus people's opinions. That is one important concern of Plato. Wisdom versus opinions. Socrates was killed according to expressed opinion in a democratic arrangement. But Plato believed that is not the truth. That is not wisdom. It means problem with democracy is that the democratic system is not led by wisdom. It is led by opinions. So that is why he thought of ruler philosophers, so that they are wise and they will guide the system. So Plato has no belief in democracy, because the problem is a just system, like a just soul should be led by wisdom. Just system should be led by wisdom. But how do you ensure? Whereas in democracy, system is run by opinions. So that is the issue. Tell me, is there any solution to this problem even now? Is the problem clear? Should a system be run by truth and wisdom, or people's opinions, technically, theoretically?
People's opinions.
Why?
Why? Because that seems more, more to the principles of the just principles of the society. You can argue that reason is good, but everybody is equal in that system. It's my opinion, not so, not.
No, I'm asking your opinion only. First of all, why do we think everybody is equal? If
We don't have to think that way, but that's an option. Like, why shouldn't we think that way? That's a reasonable option, right? Everybody is equal.
Why equality is an option? Why is it a reasonable option? Why do we have this examination?
Because
we think everybody is equal.
Because it creates less strife between people. Because everybody thinks like, it reduces jealousy because everybody given equal chance. It has its own benefits, but
Equal chance, giving a chance. For example, take this examination system. Is exam treating equally or trying to find an unequal people?
it's giving equal chance.
Take time.
But it wants the best people, not the.
Which means it assumes that there are best people.
But how can you define best? Like best in which terms?
Whatever.
So Plato's society.
No, just stick to the examination. What does exam think?
Okay.
Take time, please. Don't blurt out any answer. Just take time. Deepthi, what's your answer?
Sir, but an exam is a selection process, but whereas the roles and responsibilities of a state are different. But
fine.
Actually,
that's fine. That's fine. That's okay. You can go back to your old question. But okay, examination is a selection process. But why should there be a selection process if you believe that everybody is equal? Selection assumes inequality.
yes, sir.
Selection assumes that job requires knowledge, job requires some skills, and some people have more skills, and let us select them. And we don't know who those are, let us select them. Okay? They are saying that we are giving opportunity to everybody, but with the assumption everybody is not equal. And so we want to find out the best according to this criteria. If everybody is assumed to be equal, there should not be any examination. What do you say, Bharat? Do you agree?
Yes, sir, I agree.
Please think. And what are you trying to do during this course and during this examination? Trying to be as much unequal as possible. 20 marks unequal in ethics paper. 30 marks unequal in ethics paper. You write unequality such a good essay so that you will get at least few marks more. And this man said a brilliant answer on equality. So he is better than others. So let us select him. Isn't it? So what do we seek? We seek administration to run in the hands of the meritorious through an examination. We want administration to be run by knowledge, preferably wisdom. But when it comes to state, what is happening? There doesn't seem to be any examination, no recruitment. It is simply by opinions. Was Socrates given any examination? Others, no. They have debated, but finally It was settled by opinions. So Plato's concern is, this is not the way things should be settled. Things should be settled in a way that wisdom should rule, knowledge should rule. Opinions can't. So treating everybody equally to him is to ruin the system. Because he saw Socrates being killed that way only. So that is why Plato believed you take some people, educate, and make them rulers. So he said, unless philosophers become rulers or rulers become philosophers, there is no escape to unjustness in a society. Because his concern is power and wisdom should match. It is not power and prejudice. What happens in democracy is power and prejudice. Deepthi, you wanted to ask? Tell me.
Sir, just like we have ethical conflict, even if a philosopher ruler takes the power, there can still be philosophical conflict.
There may be. But conflict between two philosophers is different from conflict between a philosopher and a crowd.
A conflict within the philosopher's mind.
Yes.
In those, if it is a democracy, opinions are taken by majority consideration.
That is true, but the point is, we can't. Majority is not the way to know the truth. If you think truth should lead the system.
Yes, sir. No, sir. I'm just asking what happens when there is philosophical conflict in philosopher ruler.
There can be conflicts. He's just looking at philosophy versus majority opinion.
Okay. Okay, sir.
That's all. It's only at this point. It's not that the philosophical questions are settled.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it? It is like that. So in administration, we are trying to bring a competence. But in running of the state, we don't have that criteria. We are finally going by the opinions. And when opinions are ill-informed, what kind of democracy you can bring? Okay. So that is the issue. So broadly speaking, a just soul is the soul guided by wisdom and truth. And a just city also should be guided, but in democracy, it is opinions that guide. That is a problem. And nobody found a solution. This is the central conflict. The conflict is wisdom is different from opinions. Wisdom is different from what the majority thinks. So that is why Plato's ideal solution is there should be a ruler who is philosopher, who is knowledgeable, and he rules. But he hasn't found one. So nobody found a solution. Plato did not find a solution. But the problem he identified is relevant even now. Tell me, is this a clear problem or not? That is a problem.
Is it
Next.
Sir, is it possible that leaders are also selected by an examination, just like we have the administrators selected by
We don't
examination?
have that. Nobody has it.
But what if we have it? What if we have it? So will that solve the problem?
No, who will conduct the examination? What is the nature of examination? What is the nature of knowledge that is needed? Nobody thought like that. So we did not develop in that direction at all. Democracy did not develop in that direction.
Okay, no one thought about it.
Nobody thought of it. So merit is only at the lower level, not at the highest level. So carefully selected meritorious people are only to advise, guide, but not to rule. That's all. This is a modern solution, but that is not the final solution. Because the master is subjected to opinions. So which advice he will take depends upon his wisdom or lack of it.
So ultimately, there is a part of wisdom that plays, but that is good or not, we don't know.
There is a part of final selection is not based on wisdom. Rulers are selected by opinions. That is what democracy is. Their assistants are selected by other process. That is different.
So, sir, in this, we are believing that administrators have wisdom.
At least knowledge. At least there is a selection process in that. And through ethics paper, UPSC wants the administrator to have wisdom also. But at least there is some attempt. But regarding the ruler, there is no such attempt anywhere.
Sir, there is also a mention that's like a right to recall, they sometimes mention in the news.
Whatever. But finally, who will recall? It is opinion only.
Right. Yeah.
So democracy is about opinions, and opinions is not truth. That is one. Next, second issue is, this is even more serious. In a just soul, wisdom top, and there are passions. This, I believe, is more serious objection. That is, Socrates, thinks that these passions should be controlled by wisdom. But when there is no wisdom, they will have a free play. It is unhealthy. And the point here is, it may happen to the system also. Tell me, is this not what is happening to democracy? Full play to passions, comforts, sex, money. Where is wisdom? What is capitalism? You buy. What will I produce? Whatever you are willing to buy. What is my motive? To make profit. Your motive? This passion pandering. So there is no wisdom controlling the passions. Because there is no wisdom to guide the system. In fact, democracy gives the impression everybody is equal. Do you know, everybody equal means even a good person, bad person, controlled person, not controlled person, all are equal. And particularly the idea that if you can do it, I can also do it. There is no restraint. There is no hierarchy. Okay, do you know the most serious problem in contemporary society is freedom is defined as freedom to pursue these base passions. I enjoy this car, so freedom to buy. I enjoy power, freedom to get power. I want to abandon this person, freedom to abandon. Whereas all through various religions and many defined freedom as internal freedom with a control over these base passions. But now freedom is defined as freedom to do anything. There is no wisdom to see whether this particular desire leads to happiness or not. It is these things that give rise to materialism, because there is no control by wisdom. Tell me, is this a very, very serious issue or not? Deepti?
Sir, when you said that some religions control base passions but give internal freedom, can you give one or two examples on that?
Thank you. But can you give me one example of any religion which hasn't talked about control of base passions?
No, sir, no.
Exactly. It is like that. Religions differed in terms of how severe they were or how to overcome them. But there is no religion, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Jainism, which said freedom is freedom to pursue comfort, sex, and money. No. In Hinduism, one is called Jain. Who is Jain? Conqueror. But conqueror of what? Mind. But now, can any politician say you control yourself? The police officer says dress moderately, woman will come out. How can you say you dress like this? Or take safety pressure. How can you say that it is your responsibility to control? So how is freedom defined? Freedom defined as pursuit of any desire. Whereas Socrates thought any desire should be subjected to wisdom, whether you should pursue it or not. And Plato's concern is, how do you replicate it at system level? Liberty, if you ask me, is the most irresponsibly understood in modern civilization. People think that freedom to do anything as freedom. Freedom is not at all understood as inner freedom. Always freedom is against husband, against wife, against boss. It is against somebody. It is not against one's own impulses. And what is happening in a systemic level? Politicians compete. They don't try to educate. They compete in pandering to the passions. Other somebody else is unjust. That fellow is a rogue. You are right. Oh, people are mobilized. But a politician who says, maybe we are wrong, you won't get any votes. So how is hatred generated? Base passions. And then in a democracy, if all these people vote, then others think, okay, after all, it is democracy. So opinions are simply ignited, stimulated, corrupted in a particular way, and leaders are elected. And anybody who tries to show sense will not get votes. Because what matters is not the truth. What matters is what people think. So when a state is not led by wisdom, but led by these passions, pampered, stimulated, prejudiced, how can there be a just state? So the states will produce wars, internal violence. So these are not the problems because of lack of democracy, but because of democracy. It is not because people don't have choice, but because people have choice. So Plato's idea of selecting philosopher kings and giving them powers, communism of property, communism of family, are all discarded. They should be discarded. But the question of how do you make a political system led by wisdom? There is no answer. And I feel these questions are becoming increasingly important because more countries are becoming democratic, more elections, okay? But in the end, you produce leaders who are usually very bad, good for nothing, who bank on hate, prejudices, generate hate. And those who try to show sense will lose. Because remember, what matters is not clearing the examination or how truthful you are. It's basically about what the voters think. And arousing base passions may be easier than generating wisdom. Plato says if child is suffering from something, a person with sweets wants to offer sweets and a doctor wants to offer medicine, and what will child choose? Child will choose sweet and not medicine. Democracy is like that.
Sir, look, sir, if we go by these points, then then harmony being true in the world is just a fiction.
We are seeing lack of harmony, lack of justice. Whether it is a fiction or not, we will see. But we can see whether the states are led by wisdom or how are leaders elected, what kind of leaders, and why is it happening. Okay. So the point is, it is not because people don't have a say, but because people have a say. So one can argue these are the problems with democracy, saying that people are not involved. But Plato's point is different. Plato's point is that these are the problems because people are involved. So problems of democracy, now moving away from Plato and broadly, problems of democracy can be sometimes where people not involved. And people involved. For example, when somebody is saying commercial interests play the role and people don't decide public policy, tell me one or two.
People not involved.
Exactly. Not involved. Okay. Upper caste rule the system. People are not involved. What is that?
One.
There is no decentralization. There is excessive centralization. So one or two. One. So usually this one is discussed. Capitalism is not working because it is crony capitalism. Okay, commercial interests play a role. Rich people are powerful. Okay, so definitely there are also problems of democracy. There is no doubt about it. But there are other problems where people are involved. Okay, majority decides the minority should have no equal rights. Tell me, people are involved, people are not involved.
People are involved.
Exactly. Majoritarianism is an example of people involved. They decide we are right and they don't. And they elect a person who goes on a hate campaign. Somebody else is wrong. Somebody else is unjust. Somebody else is criminal, like that. And people don't see what is the issue. People involved. So what is called illiberal democracy, majoritarianism? These are the two words. Majoritarianism means majority ruling the state without respecting the rights of the minority. People are involved. Plato's issue. Okay. Base passions. Again, Plato's issue. But people are not sufficiently represented. That's a different issue. No local self-government, things like that. Role of money in elections, things like that. That is different. So, democracy need not be glorified because it is about how you manipulate, impact opinions. Okay. So these are the issues Plato raises. So Plato thinks just like an individual is happy when there is a hierarchy of desires, wisdom first, courage and honor next, bodily pleasures third. A state also should go by that. Okay. How can this country say to this is against India's honor? Okay. First level or second level?
Second level.
Second level. Maybe there is some truth. There is a way to solve the problem. First level or second level? First level. Wisdom. So Plato thinks and Socrates thinks that a state should be run by the leadership which exercises the first level. But think what kind of leaders we have, at what level they operate and what kind of passions they ignite and how they get elected.
Sir,
Just 1 second. And one more thing is, Plato thinks that your nature and your job should match. Reason oriented, you are doing something. Appetite oriented, you are. That is also a part of justness of soul. Okay. So Plato thinks that individuals are different and going by their difference, they should do certain jobs. That is also another aspect. The primary aspect is leadership by wisdom and reason. They're equating reason and wisdom same because they think that through reasoning one can be wise and wisdom should lead. So, Plato believed in what Socrates said, but wanted to extend it to the system. Plato came from highly connected family, aristocratic family. So he didn't take part in elections. He didn't take part in politics as long as he was connected with Socrates, influenced by Socrates. And after Socrates' death, he continued academic studies only. So he set up a university which ran for 1,000 years. Okay. Plato's Academy. Otherwise, he would have gone to politics, but he thought, though he was politically connected, politics was unjust and no good people should enter that politics. That is another problem with democracy. Good people don't enter. Why? Good people enter when they can do good things. But when they see they cannot do good things, they won't enter. And because they can't enter, When people are choosing, they have to choose a lesser evil. So another problem is that it is not at all true that he is actually the best person, even according to people's opinions. Are you following? It's not that Indians thought that this prime minister is the best. This is just that among the contestants, among the possibilities, and then the people vote, even when there are 5 candidates, each vote is not even for the best. Each vote, he will think who is more likely to win if he votes. Finally, it is like that. More likely to win if he votes. That's how everybody thinks. So they don't even choose the best candidate. And more importantly, good candidates don't enter. So between A and B, where will I make an impact? If I vote for B, B may win. So I will vote. But I think he is a great person, but he is not going to get elected. So I vote for him. So these are all the ways by which finally people don't elect even whom they think are right. So where are we? We are actually in a paralyzed situation. Politicians can't speak their mind, because once they speak their mind, they may lose votes. Politicians' inner priorities may be something, and outer, what he's saying outside may be different. Okay, because he has to win the votes. Winning votes in certain ways, it is easy. Short-term measures, easy. Hatred, much easier. But long-term, difficult. Advocating sanity, very difficult. So sometimes people compete in terms of how irresponsible their agenda can be. More populism, more hatred. So what does all that mean? All this means we are simply hijacked by the system that we ourselves created. Politicians don't do what they can and what they should, and people don't do what they can and what they should. And this collective helplessness is called democracy. Bharat.
Sir, is China somewhat a close example to a Plato state? Because it is.
We will look into that.
Okay.
We'll look into that. But definitely China is not democracy. Maybe. That's fine.
Sir,
Wherever the states are not democratic, but because of lack of democracy, they are doing well, there Plato has a point. Okay.
Sir, Plato is saying that the city-state or state should be ruled by wise people and guided by wisdom. But
Exactly.
on the contrary, he is saying
guided
good
by
people,
wisdom.
On the other hand, he is saying that good people don't like to enter politics. So how these two things will balance it? When
Good people don't enter politics under ordinary circumstances. But in Plato's state, good people, reason-oriented people will be selected, recruited, and trained, and then they will be the rulers. So Plato is talking about an ideal state, and Plato is talking about the reality. In reality, good people don't enter. But in his ideal state, good people will be the rulers.
And my second point is, sir, given the circumstances, we don't have an option for other representative mechanism. So we are guided basically by opinions. So the best thing we can do, which is in our hands, is make this opinion a better one by imparting right knowledge from the basic level.
For example, so you can take that question. Solution to the problem of democracy is education. Write that. Essay 3. This is the third essay. Solution to the problems of democracy. is education and not more democracy. Because somebody said solution to the problem of democracy is more democracy. Solution to the problem of democracy is education and not more democracy. So that is essay 3. Okay. Fine. On Monday we will. Okay, I posted 2 videos, one by Noam Chomsky, Limitations on Democracy, and then one French thinker on democracy in America. Just 3-minute videos. They're interesting, good observations. Okay. Okay, on Monday we will do another great Greek thinker, Thucydides. Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and Thucydides. We'll skip Aristotle for now. We'll do Thucydides. Okay, so I'll post video. Thucydides is important for international relations. We have ethics of international relations also. Okay. Fine, do the assignment. Tell me, is the approach clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Read the book,
Yes.
watch the videos, answer Padlets, and do it on the same day. Very little to study, and papers are very, very important and highly scoring. So just follow this strategy and you will do both the papers really well. Okay.
Sir, are we going to cover all the philosophers in class or only selected?
Selected only. All the philosophers mean there is no specific list, right? Not
okay,
all.
sir.
Definitely not even all the people mentioned in this book.
Okay, sir. Okay.
More importantly, we will do applications like this about democracy, introspection, like that. Finally, we'll answer questions like this. Okay. Thucydides is useful in international relations.